Thank you everyone for being here today. My name is Sophie Hearn, and I am a co-chair of the Entwine Board Committee, along with Bill Kahana, who sends his apologies that he cannot be here with us today. I'm also the chair of the Entwine Council, Entwine's young adult lay leadership body made up of key alumni who provide strategic and programmatic guidance and oversight for Entwine. I'm truly honored to be bringing everyone together today for our fall Entwine Forum. We have board members, Entwine alumni, and partners joining us today, so thank you all for taking the time. I'd also like to extend a special welcome to anyone joining us for the first time, and especially any Kahal supporters who are tuning in to learn more about Entwine. Before we get started, a few Zoom reminders. First, to make sure that there isn't any background noise, we will be muting you, nothing personal, and will occasionally prompt you to unmute yourselves. Andrea Kowalski will be monitoring the chat, so if you have a question, please feel free to post it there until we come to the Q&A portion of our hour together. We also recommend making sure you update your name that is tagged on your screen. You can put your name and city if you like. This is done by clicking those 3 little dots in the upper right corner of your Zoom screen. So with that, let's get started. Our forum today is going to focus on how Entwine and its partners constitute an inclusive ecosystem of Jewish engagement, ensuring that top rising leaders can find meaningful expression for their unique identities. During this forum, you will learn about the ways in which Entwine approaches partnerships and will engage in conversation with representatives from partner organizations on how collaboration is fueling greater impact across the community. I want to kick us off with some important context on Entwine. With all that has changed around us in the past 2 years, Entwine's mission is even more relevant than ever. It is to catalyze the current generation of Jewish young adults in North America, and increasingly in other centers of Jewish life around the world, to view global Jewish awareness, connection, and responsibility as core to their identity. Entwine offers a robust continuum of programs that focus on 3 main areas. The first, service, international and domestic immersive experiences that bring young Jews face-to-face with global Jewish causes and communities. The second, engagement, with local programming in communities across the US that enable service alumni to continue their education and to take action on behalf of global Jewish causes. And the third, leadership programs, in which Entwine takes a value-based approach to train a select cohort of young adults, providing them with the knowledge and skills needed to lead the Jewish community in an increasingly globalized world. We evaluate all of Entwine's programs through head, heart, and hands outcomes to understand what impact our programs have on what our participants know, feel, and how they choose to take action. We are proud to have such a strong evaluation framework to prove we are reaching the outcomes we and our stakeholders have set out for Entwine. So next, I'm going to transition us to a quick warm-up to get us acquainted and into the right mindset for this discussion. I'm going to share a prompt, and then we're going to ask everyone to write your name, where you're joining from, and your answer to the question that we're asking in the chat. Please take time to read the responses of others. I will also call a few of them out as they come in. The prompt for today is, what is unique about your Jewish community? Thank you for posting that in the chat, Andrea. And I will kick us off with my own answer. So my community, I live in Boston, holds space for innovation and prioritizes partnerships. And I'm excited to see what comes in the chat. And it doesn't have to necessarily be about your entire community where you live. It could be your own micro community as part of your larger community, however you interpret the prompt in question. Tomer from Detroit, legacy and collaborations. MJ from DC, that your community is made up of people and practices that you want in your Jewishness. Oh, now they're coming in quickly. Ellie, that your community from New York is constantly evolving and reprioritizing. Rebecca from DC, that's really into politics and civic engagement. Mike, coming to us from London, that your community does not distinguish between youth and education. And we'll take one more, Nancy from Baltimore, that you raise a lot of money compared to the relative size of your community, which is quite important. Well, now they're streaming in, and we could spend time, I could keep going, but I encourage you to continue to read some of these wonderful responses. And thanks for warming up with us. So with that, it is my pleasure to hand it over to Sean Hoffman, Entwine's Executive Director.
Thanks, Sophie. And hi, everyone. So as Sophie mentioned, Sean Hoffman, I'm Entwine's Executive Director. And I want to thank everyone for making the time to be with us today. As Sophie mentioned, and as we shared in advance, we chose to focus today's forum on partnerships specifically among different Jewish organizations, because we believe and we feel that now more than ever, the idea of partnership and collaboration is a really, really critical component to Jewish engagement. If we're going to be successful in sustaining vibrant, inclusive Jewish life into the future, it's critical that with sort of clear eyes and clear sight, we identify and we address the challenges and the opportunities that we're seeing in this moment. It should go without saying, and we don't aspire to, JDC Entwine cannot solve these challenges on our own, and therefore it's critical that we work closely with other organizations who have similar goals to ourselves. Our success in addressing these challenges and taking advantage of these opportunities in the service of building a stronger Jewish future, it can only happen through true collaborative effort with partners and with our supporters. And so in that vein, I want to thank our panelists for joining us today and for sharing their perspectives and their insights on collaboration between their organizations. And why they see it as so critical in this moment. I think it's a conversation really that spans the entire community. And so we're thrilled to be having it, to have these panelists and to have everyone who's on the call joining us. We're also very fortunate to have Ana Lucia Lopez Reveredo as our moderator for today. She's going to be leading us through this discussion. And one of the reasons that we're so fortunate to have her is, of course, we're very proud that she has been through the entire continuum of Entwine programming, starting with global service programs, engaging as an alumna on an ongoing basis for years, and now serving as a member of Entwine's lay leadership. But even more than that, Ana Lucia has also worked for a number of Entwine's partner organizations, which she did before starting her own initiative, which is today addressing a very real need in the Jewish community. Ana Lucia is a true global citizen. I can say that for certain. She's a true leader and she's a very good friend. And I'm going to hand it over to you, Ana Lucia.
Thank you so much, Sean. It's such a pleasure to be here. Hi, everyone. My name is Ana Lucia Lopez Reveredo. Sean, thank you so much for saying my name correctly. It always makes my heart beat really wonderfully. As Sean just mentioned, I am the founder and executive director of a relatively new organization called Jutina Eco. And at Jutina Eco, our mission is to nurture Latin Jewish community, identity, leadership, and resiliency, while also getting to celebrate the Latin Jewish heritage and multiculturalism that so many people might not even have access to. So such a joy. As Sean also mentioned, I am on the Entwine Council, which is the volunteer body of young adults who care deeply about issues facing JDC, global Jewry, and of course, how Entwine can engage more young adults in connecting to all of these themes. So I'm thrilled to be able to sit here today and facilitate this panel because there are incredible organizations here that are going to be able to share a little bit more about their work and what it is that they're facing with regards to engaging this new generation of Jews in the United States. So I'm going to go ahead and invite all of the panelists to answer this first question. And I'm going to go ahead and have Laura start us off because in order so that everyone can have a chance to say a little something. So for the panelists, that first question is, we'd love to hear a little bit more about you and your organization and who is your target population? What is the primary challenge your organization is addressing and anything else you think might be relevant to that question? Laura, go for it.
Hi, everyone. I'm Laura Katz from Reality, which is an initiative of Schusterman Philanthropy. I just got back from Morocco, an Entwine Reality Morocco trip. So I have a bit of a Morocco glow and a slight hint of jet lag. But I'm really excited to be talking to you all today and be bringing back that energy that I brought with me. So Reality we have about 3,000 people in our community. And the goal and the problem we are trying to solve is that right now Israel is really challenging to talk about. And so our role, the impact I believe we have is that we take a diverse set of influential leaders on a journey to Israel. It's an 8-day journey where you enter into our community. And within our community, you are able to explore the complexity and nuance within the world of Israel, and that we want to connect you to Jewish communities and be in allyship with one another. So that's what we set out to do. And we do it better with Entwine and our partnerships. Like I said, we're a small team. And so in order to try to serve 3,000 people, which grows every year, the stronger the partnerships, the more the ability we can connect to Jewish communities and global social responsibility around the world.
Thank you so much, Laura. Tomer, perfect. Come on up.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you all. My name is Tomer Moquet. I am the director of Next Gen Detroit, working in the Federation of Metro Detroit. Thank you very much for inviting me to be a panelist today. I'm very excited for this opportunity to share a little bit of what we do together. Next Gen Detroit is the young division of the greater federation. We are overseeing every individual between the ages of 21 to 45. We engage approximately 3,000 people a year out of, we're thinking there are 12,000 people in the community, but the main core of people that we engage is about 3,000. I think what we concentrate and focus on, we just actually rewrote our mission statement last year, is diverse experiences. How can we bring different kind of experiences to engage many more people? Bold leadership. How can we form and structure the future leadership of Metro Detroit? And inspired giving. How do we teach people, young adults, what philanthropy is and how does it work? And to make a gift that actually make a meaning with everything they're doing. And I would say in terms of maybe challenges that we have, it will probably be, lots of people, there are so much things going on in Detroit and so many Jewish organizations. Federation alone supports 17 of those. I think what's beautiful is that we don't compete with each other, we work together. I think what we compete with is probably Netflix and Target, right? What people can do in their free time. So this is something that's very interesting for us to try to figure out. Again, I'm excited and thank you.
Thank you, Tomer. Julia, I'd love to hear from you.
Hi, my name is Julia Almond. I'm calling in this evening from Jerusalem. I'm so excited to see a few familiar faces on this call. I am here in Jerusalem where I am a rabbinical student at the Hebrew Union College, one of 4 campuses of the Hebrew Union College. The other 3 are scattered throughout the states, New York, Cincinnati, and Los Angeles. And I am a student on the Jerusalem campus. I'm also, as a part of my studies, I'm also in the JDC Weitzman Fellowship, sponsored and supported by Jane Weitzman, who I saw was on this call. I'm excited to see you here. And that fellowship adds an amazing layer to the first year of study in Jerusalem for rabbinical, cantorial, and education students. And then it continues with us as we continue through our second and third year of study taking us from the first year spent learning about JDC's history, about the work that JDC does in Israel and in other places around the world, and then allows us the opportunity in our second and third year to explore those places by participating in trips and eventually being the leaders of those trips. So I would say the biggest challenge in this partnership and in any is the changing landscape of denominational Judaism that HUC, along with many other Jewish organizations, is facing. A numbers challenge, an engagement challenge in terms of exciting young adults and engaging them in the Jewish community, and engaging them with the interest to be future leaders as clergy and as educators. So JDC, I think this fellowship and the partnership that we have with JDC is a big draw, a big pull that adds to the experience that HUC already offers. And it helps to expand the syllabus, I guess, from just being about Israel and North America to being about the whole Jewish world and Klal Yisrael and our role as members of Klal Yisrael. So I'm honored to be a part of this panel and to meet all of you.
Thank you, Julia. I'm actually going to keep you on deck because I'm going to start the second question with you. So we know that the partnerships come with challenges, and generally we want to know a little bit of the challenges that you're currently experiencing, that you're particularly faced with, and where you think is the benefit of creating partnerships. Also, kind of adding on to that question to kind of amplify it a little bit more is, how has your organization's partnership with Entwine helped you address and solve that particular challenge?
Absolutely. So I think the biggest challenge that we face as students is that there's never enough time for everything that wants our attention and everything that is so many different worthwhile and worthy opportunities for us to engage with, so many speakers that want to come speak to us and all of that. And I think that with all those competing interests, it's often hard to choose what to focus on and to choose how you might want your rabbinate or your cantorate or your education career to be formed. And I think sometimes we, in a way we're lucky that we're so wanted. And so, so many organizations want to add to our education. But I think that in my experience, being in the JDC Weitzman Fellowship has really opened my eyes to a whole area of the rabbinate that I had already had interest in, but didn't know exactly what it would look like. And it's sort of opened my eyes to what a global perspective as a future Reform rabbi will look like. And then also JDC's aspect of pluralistic work and not specifically being a denominational organization allows us to expand our learning beyond the Reform movement and beyond just the North American movement, and helps us expand our exposure and connection to communities around the world.
Thank you. And also just wanted to send a second shout out to Jane, who's here on the call, because it sounds whatever it is that you're doing, that it's truly making an impact. And I'm excited to see what happens with this new generation of clergy. So Tomer, the same question for you. Talk to us a little bit about your challenges and how the partnership with Entwine has helped you face those challenges.
Great. So I think the biggest challenge for us is that Next Gen Detroit formed a very high standard, and we're trying to make sure every time we partner with someone, they understand the standard and they are trying to, keep it up for our, as I said before, our mission statement. Like everybody needs to be included and accepted and welcomed and treated. There is a big emphasis on customer service when people are coming to our events, and this is something that we're really trying to do. Also, all of our events has to be kosher or have a very significant kosher option. Sometimes, it changes with who we partner with. I think that the way for us to do partnership is to create a stronger community. We are the umbrella organization or the safety net organization for the community. So how do we make sure that by leading a collaboration and leading a partnership, we lead by example also for everybody to work together and to make it even a stronger community. And at the end of the day, it offers our people, our participants, more unique experiences. And that's again one of our major parts of our mission statement. somebody like John Smith or David Cohen doesn't care, where they're going and who they are going to an event with. They care about like us giving them some value for their experiences, and I think this is what we really try to do. And at the end of the day, we all are going to look better from that. Did I cover everything?
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much. And I'd love to hear from Laura as well.
Great. Thank you. Partnership is essential right now. The world is super complicated. We're dealing with COVID, we're dealing with anti-Semitism at record highs, with anti-Israel sentiments at a high, people craving community, people craving connection, and we got to do it together. We got to do it in partnership. And this partnership we have with Entwine, like I can sum it up in one word. It works because we trust each other. I'm sitting here speaking today because Andrew called me up and said, hey, will you get on this call? And it did not need any more conversation than that. The trust is there. And building those one-on-one connections is essential. So on my trip to Morocco, somebody said to me, like, if you want to know what someone is thinking, and if you want to know what they're experiencing, you have to ask them. And if you're not willing to ask them, then you can't factor it into your decision-making. So last night, I quickly asked everybody in the chat, like what was the impact? Why this partnership? What did it mean to you? And I'm just putting in the chat a brief summary of what people had to say, because I really want to share it with you and share like the impact that this is the why. We are trying to solve for connections. We are trying to give people stories, the ability to be in allyship with one another, and the ability to connect and give back. And these are some of the stories and some of the whys that we could not do otherwise. And this is really helping us solve, and I think building and solving for like big issues out there that we're all trying to solve together.
Thank you. Thank you, Laura. I think if anything, folks are listening to is clearly the power of partnerships for not just the community, but also in terms of what I'm hearing is the joy of being able to do the work and being able to do it with someone else who believes in what your mission, who has a shared vision, shared values, and really being able to encourage one another. So that's going to take me to our third question. It's really looking ahead. And when it comes to looking ahead, I'm curious to know how you all think Jewish organizations should partner with one another in order for us to shift the support of changing the landscape of the Jewish community. So in other words, where can partnerships take us? And I actually would love to start with Tomer with this one.
I would love to answer that. Actually, I think the best example I can give, maybe two major ones. Our partnership benefited, probably started during COVID. We had nothing to do. We stopped our missions with Federation, and Entwine jumped up and said, like, let's do something virtual, and let's do something virtual in Morocco. It was an amazing chance for us to offer our participants an experience they could never find anywhere else. And we did this cohort. That led us to a year after taking a trip to Dubai in real person with Entwine. And NextGen formed a list of people, and we had a few people who joined and a few people who came from Twin Cities. But those few people who joined outside of our circles learned not only about Entwine and about what JDC is doing, but also about what we are doing and who we are. One of the participants, like Ben, he learned so much and got in love with everything we do here in Detroit. So he ended up joining our board at the end of that. I think it's a great examples of what we want to do in the future, like and why we are benefiting from each other. We should do more to give people more opportunities. We are working now with Entwine to do something in around the block, down the block in Detroit. We want to extend this connection because the world is getting more global, and people wish and care to do more with us. So we have in a few months trip to Argentina with Entwine, and I just think that this is the future.
Amazing. It's been really a joy over the last 8 years of being involved with Entwine to see how great and how big the Detroit community has continued to grow with Entwine as a partner. So I really love seeing that, and I'm excited to always see the partnerships that will continue to come out of that. So I'm going to pass it now to Julia. would love to hear in terms of your visioning. How do you see partnerships taking us into the next era?
Sure. So I think that within the HUC curriculum, there's a lot of classroom time and a lot of learning, and that's all wonderful. But I think one of the biggest successes of the partnership with JDC is that it takes us out of the classroom. And that has looked like many different things in the past. That has been the Pesach project, an opportunity for students to lead Pesach Seders around the world. That has looked like Entwine trips specifically for HUC students in all sorts of different places. That has looked like trips with the fellowship specifically in Romania and in Dubai. And I think that just the more trips like that and the more opportunities that we can have to travel and to explore the Jewish world will just add so much to everyone's rabbinate and cantorate and educator work, and then therefore bring them so much richness to bring to their communities. And it's not just for the people that go on that trip, it also ripples out to the people that they lead and they teach, and the stories and the experiences and values that you learn from travel like that just keep rippling out. And so I actually have this dream that I think it would be amazing for student rabbis and cantors to have pulpits, to have like a student position abroad rather than just in North America as they normally do. And I actually am sort of fulfilling that dream for myself. Tomorrow I'm flying, or Friday morning from Israel, I'm flying to Dubai for the Rosh Hashanah weekend with the support of the Weitzman Fellowship. And I'm going to be helping to build the egalitarian Jewish community there and to offer them programming and learning this weekend. So I'm already fulfilling that dream, and I really wish it could be true for so many more students as well, because I'm so excited about it, and I think it's an amazing addition to my learning.
You just, I think, inspired all of us. So for those of us who were considering rabbinical school and were on the fence, I think you just made the sale. So watch out, applications. Thank you, Julia. So, and Laura, I want to pass that question on to you as well. How do you see our partnerships growing and taking us into the next stage?
Okay, I also just want to say that I would love to be in the UAE for Rosh Hashanah. I can't wait to hear about it. I guess for partnerships, to me, it's less about the why and about the how. We've moved into a stage where things are really, like I said, they're complicated, they're tough, they're challenging. And say we're like challenged about how to do a DEI training. Well, we leverage each other's expertise. Who has some expertise in this? Who's dealt with this problem? How can we best work together on this issue? So I see it moving to a different level from, okay, what are we each getting out of this partnership, and opposed to like, what expertise are we each bringing into it, and how, because of that trust that I spoke about before, how can we each elevate and bring each other to the next level? So what new trainers are you working with? How are we working with people, and how can we best share those best practices with each other? That's where I see us going in the future. People want those one-on-one connections. We can't deliver that alone. Each of us, we each exist because we each touch different people. You know, we each have that different kind of on the ground, those relationships, those experiences. And so to share those and to broaden those that get to feel that is significant. When we were in Morocco, and the population we were with was half were Jewish and half were from different religions. And we were seeing a synagogue that was about 700 years old. And our tour guide explained to us how it was in need of repairs. And within 48 hours, the entire group had raised enough money to repair that synagogue. That is what this is all about. What are the moments that really like get into people's values, get into their ability to give back in a moment, and are transformational? And I just see the more of those we can give, the more we're going to keep changing the world. Oh, and shout out to Ariel. I forgot to shout her out before, who I just traveled with for 8 days.
Shout out Ariel. And was your guide Rafi? Is that who you were? Was that who you were?
Of course, Rafi is the mayor of all of Morocco.
The legend. For folks who have not had the pleasure of traveling with JDC Entwine to Morocco, I hope that you do, because it really was transformative. Thank you. And actually, I think that leads me to my next question, which is really about making the global local. In the last couple of years, the world has experienced something collectively, and that was the COVID-19 pandemic. And with that, a lot of our experiences, for many of us, so much of our identity, perhaps with our partnerships and things that we're passionate about, took us to a lot of places outside of where we typically call home. But it also allowed us during this time to look inward and try to apply a lot of those learnings that we had been exposed to in years prior to in the global sphere, to be able to look a little bit more inward. And I'm curious for all of you in the communities that you have built through global partnerships, specifically with JDC Entwine, how have you been able to activate things that you've learned abroad into your current communities? I will start with Laura. Since you're off, since your mic is off, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, that's why you're having it off. Shoot. I would say, like, in a broader sense, while being like face to face and being in community with each other is like a muscle we haven't exercised in a little while, it's also one that people are craving and more important than ever before. So I think it's the one-on-one stories and that really help bring it back home. Each person was challenged, like, what can you do? Like, the community kind of motivated you, got you, but what is your individual ability to bring it back home? So I think naming it, putting it out there, exploring it, and then giving people the tools and resources to do it is how we can best do that. And it's really challenging. And like I said, it's needed now more than ever before. People are really craving being in community with one another and being able to give back after 2 years of feeling isolated and frustrated and not being able to give, how important it is to give back. Now I'll turn my microphone off so it's somebody else's.
Yes, couldn't agree with you more. And I will go ahead and pass it to Julia.
Sure. So I'm thinking about my experience growing up in the Cleveland, Ohio Jewish community, where, at least in my bubble of it, my version of it, everyone was sort of the same. Everyone was generally Ashkenazi, and so, you know, like, I sort of grew up with people that it was relatively easy to be Jewish where I was. And I think my global Jewish experiences have taught me that there are so many different experiences that fall into Klal Yisrael, that fall into what the patchwork of the people of Israel and the Jewish people. And I think that it's expanded the way that I teach about what it means to be Jewish, and it's expanded the way that I explain ritual or explain customs or practice, in that I don't say Jews do this, but I think some Jews do this or some Jews do that. And it's really like travel and the experiences that I've had learning about so many different communities has shown me all those different variations that I would never have gotten without those experiences.
I guess I'm next.
Yes.
So to me, I would say I was born and raised in Israel, if you can't really figure it out by now. And I moved here to Detroit 3 years ago for this job, but before that, I was working 12 years with Tamara Camps started as a staff member, and before that, like, as a staff member in Surprise Day Camp in New York. So my global Jewish experience probably started in my 20s after the army, and it made me more Jewish, period. I've learned more about what is Judaism. I learned more about the North American Jewish community, but then with that, I extended through other communities, and thanks to Entwine and like everything and all of our experiences here in Next Gen Detroit and in my current job, I even went to like different continents and more places. And with this world, who again is so global, and this is what people want, I think this is an amazing gift to give someone, to explore more, to enthusiast your curiosity about like what's happening around the world right now in other Jewish communities, and to understand, like, the big family. Like my personal family comes from Greece and from Egypt and Iraq, and I grew up around like Ashkenazis like all my life from like Europe. So everything together is a big mixture, and it just makes life more fascinating.
Thank you, Tomer. I think if there's anything that reigns true, is that Jews for millennia have moved all over the world and have been able to make homes all over the world. as a result of that, we're probably one of, if anything, if we are not already aware of it, one of the most multicultural diasporic communities that has ever existed. And I think that the global experiences that partnerships with Entwine allow us to have is to be able to have that insight into, like, firsthand, being able to see how it is that communities have created beautiful and striving communities. And so what it means to be able to come back and do locally, at least for me as someone who's been a participant and been able to partner with a number of your organizations, has truly been to just reminisce all of those pieces from that I've learned on the outside and being able to bring it home and being able to share it with folks who, for whatever reasons, might not be able to experience. So thank you all so much for allowing us to take the global and making it local. So at this moment in time, we're going to turn over to the audience and see if there are any questions that folks have for our panelists.
So we have one question from Alan Leifer in the chat.
Yes, so I'm happy to read it out loud. And Alan asks, Entwine just absorbed Kahal, an organization that offers Jewish peoplehood experiences in foreign countries for current college students studying for a semester abroad. How important would that have been to you if it were available when you were 20 years old? Those are for our panelists. Can we bring our panelists back on? Pin our panelists. Tomer, yes.
That's an amazing question. It's actually, it sounds like a dream. I think there is so much. I would consider myself as a world traveler. Like, I love traveling and I love, like, learning and exploring, like, other countries and other cultures, and it just makes you a better person. Like, put Judaism aside, I think it makes you someone who understands different points of view, different scenarios, different stories, and the stories are collectively collaborate with each other, and you realize you're something bigger than just yourself, and something like is and, you know, in the Jewish community that you think you belong to, you realize like there are more of those and they're all connected, and then there are more of those and they're all connected. So yeah, that sounds incredible.
Second that.
I'm gonna
second that. Yes.
So I'll have to say
Please.
it was around when I was 20 years old. That was only 6 years ago. And I think that I'm reflecting on the fact that nobody really knew what Kahal was when I did receive some support from them. I think it was interesting to me, like, I found it through someone, I think, who worked for my Hillel in university, recommended it to me when I was studying abroad and said, oh, there's this organization, but nobody had really, none of my friends had ever heard of it. Nobody else in my program had any connection to it. But I think that partnering with Entwine and with JDC will offer this amazing opportunity to so many more people, just through the familiarity that so many people have with Entwine, and as Laura said before, the trust that people have in JDC. And I just was reflecting also on the idea of people recognizing JDC. When I flew back from Dubai earlier this year with the fellowship team, the woman checking us in at the El Al stand was from India, and I said, she's, what are you doing in Dubai? And I said, we're here with a trip from JDC Entwine. She goes, oh, they helped my family in India. Like, she knew JDC, and I don't think she might not have even been Jewish. I doubt it, but you know, just that JDC is a known household name, and I hope that the partnership with Kahal will, you know, increase the availability and the exposure of such opportunities for so many students.
I'm imagining a world where there's birthright and then there's like a hall. And so, like, what kind of difference we can make, how much stronger we would be to have these cultural experiences, to have these one-on-one exchanges, to be able to share these stories and what that might look like. Breaks down barriers, can just transcend so much and really move us to the next level. Love this question, and would love to be having a conversation in a few years where this was just like a given for people and imagining what the possibility of that could look like.
Thank you. something that came to my mind is that Entwine, or JDC as a whole, almost like the original influencer, right? When it comes to doing good in the Jewish community. And that's exciting. I love the idea of someone being able to look at a tag while you're going through probably one of the least favorite parts of being in Israel and having such a joyful moment. So amazing. Patricia, I saw your hand up and I would love to hear your question.
Maybe I'm on mute. I don't know right now. Hi, I'm trying to maybe ask a question.
Yes, Diane, go for it.
Yeah. I just wanted to say, number one, thank you, Sean, for inviting me onto this Zoom today. I've only been a member of Kahalik for a few years and so excited, about it when I had gotten a call maybe about 4 years ago from Tim Cohn at Hillel International telling me about this incredible organization. And then the pandemic came and changed everything and went upside down. And we knew that it was time for us to, seek a partnership. And I am so grateful for Entwine and to make sure that the Kahal name stays out there. The reason I put up my hand, even though my kids are all grown up and have children of their own, my friend had said to me, if only Kahal was there when my daughter was in college. It was so lonely at times because there was no Jewish connection. So I thank Entwine for caring enough and respecting enough the wonderful things that Kahal has produced over the years of its existence. And I know it will only be more fantastic under your leadership. So thanks a lot.
Yes, amen to that. I want to also invite back Patricia. I know you hand with Patricia Almond, and if you had your question, would love to hear it. Okay, well, if anybody else has another question, I have actually one more question that's been sitting here that is something that I've always been, this is directly for you, Tomer. I have to say, one of my favorite things about Detroit are the people that live in Detroit, and how tight knit the community is in Detroit. People are so proud to be there. People who grow up there, wherever it is that the world takes them, they know they want to return to Detroit. And so I'm curious to know, what is it about Detroit that makes you all so tight knit?
That's an amazing question, especially from someone who comes from the outside, who keeps coming back. I think what's super amazing here, and I will say that as an outsider, there are generations and generations of people who grew up here, and their grandparents were here, and everybody knows, in a way, everybody, and everybody somehow is connected, but people really passionately care about the city and the area. And I think what also special that I realized doesn't happen everywhere, like in many other places as well, there is also a collaboration between more different movements, right? Like the rabbis from different kind of movements get together once every few months and just share what they're doing, how they're doing that. And this, when you think about it, it's pretty incredible thing to do. People accept each other no matter like where they come from, and this is something that you feel it when you're in the street, you feel it like when you are there. And Midwest is generally nice people, and Detroit is awesome. Please come visit us. We are super cool.
Thank you so much. It really has been a pleasure to be able to be with you today, Tomer, Julia, and Laura, and hearing about all of your work and the partnerships that we've been able to create as Entwine and Reality and HUC and with Next Gen. And really, from the bottom of my heart, I hope that we continue to have many more of these experiences where we can share the new pieces of what we've been up to. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to, sorry. Can folks hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, everyone was glitching. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it back to Sean for some closing thoughts on Entwine.
Cool. Thank you, Ana Lucia, and a huge thank you to our panelists who've taken time out of their day to be here. I want to like really quickly just come back to something that Laura said, which I think in a lot of ways encompasses and encapsulates how we think about partnering, and you know, I think one of the hardest parts about it, right, which is that idea of building trust and the recognition that none of us can do this on our own, and therefore we don't have the luxury of being territorial or asserting ownership or, you know, anything along those lines. And one of the things that we've always held true is that, you know, we don't own relationships with people, right? In an ideal world, a young person who's coming through the Jewish engagement pipeline will have touch points with so many different organizations. And for us, something that we really want to do is to be a tool in the toolbox of other organizations and vice versa, in making sure that we're really getting people involved, engaged, and finding ways for them to take action in ways that are meaningful and authentic for them. So we covered a lot today, and as we look ahead to the future, to 2023, I'm pleased to share that we are planning a very full calendar of trips and global service opportunities. We're actually going to have a look at some of these offerings right here, and we will send this to all of you in a follow-up email as well. So there's no need to try and write down every location that you see here. We will send this to you. As you can see at the bottom, partnerships are a big part of our trips for next year. We're partnering, of course, with our friends at Reality, with Next Gen Detroit, Repair the World, HUC, of course, the federations in the Twin Cities, and I like to thank the support of our board members from there, and really helping us build out the model for how we partner with federations. And on that point, one of the things that we're doing is significantly increasing the number of federation partnerships across the community. And as Tomer has shared, and we've tried to as well, we can really be a value add in the work that federations are doing locally to engage young folks and reach new audiences. So to our broader audience, I'll say and make an appeal that if you have your local federation or ideas of organizations that might be interested, for whom we could provide value and increase and improve each other's work, please feel free to reach out. And Andrea is going to put her email in the chat. And with that, I'm going to thank everyone one more time, and I'm going to hand it back to Sophie for our closing.
Thank you so much, Sean. And Trish, I see your message in the chat, and yes, we will be sharing materials with you and also anyone else who would like the trip flyer to help promote locally the trips, and also, as Sean said, explore federation and or other local partnerships. So, but with that, I would like to thank you all for taking the time to be here with us today. This is a very important time for the Jewish community, and therefore an exciting time for Entwine. We have not missed a beat. I think the full slate of trips in the year ahead is a testament to that. And we are working incredibly hard to respond to the incredible demand for travel and in-person gatherings, as well as to raise the resources necessary to make this work possible. And I would love to thank our guest speakers today. You were incredible, and I'd like to thank all of you, Entwine committee members, fellow board members, staff, guests, new friends to the Entwine family, and old. If you have any questions about anything you saw or ideas on how to advance the work, please reach out to Bill, Sean, or myself. We would love to find a time to talk. Thank you. Be well, and wishing you and your family and your communities a Shana Tova.